My mother stood up, glass in hand, her diamonds catching the light. "To my daughter Kate," she said, voice soft, rehearsed, sharp beneath the sugar. "She's the daughter I'm proud of." The table erupted, applause, laughter, the hum of approval. I clapped, too small polite, my pulse hammering in my throat. Then the waiter slid a black folder toward me. The bill, $1.80, sat heavy on the white linen. My sister smirked. Cameras clicked. Every eye turned to me. I felt heat crawl up my neck, shame mixing with rage. I didn't argue. I just decided that night would be the last time I paid to belong. I grew up in a house where everything looked perfect from the sidewalk. Fresh paint trimmed hedges, the smell of lilacs in spring. Inside perfection had a price tag, and I learned early who got the premium version of love. My sister Kate was the shining one gold hair, easy smile, the kind of kid adults wanted to photograph. When relatives visited, they'd pinch her cheek and say, "She's a star already." Then their eyes would land on me. "Helen's the smart one," they'd add, as if that balanced the equation. Mom Margaret liked things polished. The house, the dinner table, our emotions. She said chaos was ugly. So whenever I cried, she'd hand me a napkin and whisper, "Don't make a scene, sweetheart. Grace under pressure." Dad mostly nodded behind his newspaper. He wasn't cruel, just absent in all the important ways. One summer when I was 12, Kate wanted ballet lessons. Mom signed her up at the best studio in town, the one with glass walls, so everyone could watch their daughters spin. When I asked for science camp, Mom smiled tight. "That's expensive, honey. You can do the free program at the library." That summer, I built paper rockets while Kate twirled under bright lights. Every Friday, she got flowers. I got picked up late because Mom was still clapping for her performance. It became our rhythm. Kate asked. She received. I learned to fix, to fill, to make do. When she ripped a dress, I stitched it. When Mom forgot something, I ran back to grab it. My reward was always the same. "You're such a help, Helen." Helpful, that word became my job title long before I had one. High school only deepened the gap. Kate went to every dance in a new gown. I wore the same black dress 3 years running, hemming it shorter each spring. She had a car by 16. I took the bus and told myself independence was better than envy. When college came, Mom and Dad covered all of Kate's tuition and rent without a blink. For me, they said, "You're so responsible. You'll manage." I took night shifts at a care home and slept through lectures running on caffeine and quiet resentment. On graduation day, I sent photos in my cap and gown. They didn't come. Mom texted so proud of Kate, her LA shoot went great. That message wasn't meant for me, but it arrived anyway. Still, I kept loving them. I called every week, sent birthday gifts, showed up at Thanksgiving with pies I baked after 12-hour shifts. Every time Mom would say, "You work too much, Helen. You should smile more like your sister." I'd laugh it off, pretending it didn't sting. Ben came into my life during one of those long hospital nights. He saw me before I had a chance to perform helpfulness. "You move like someone waiting for permission," he said once. I didn't understand what he meant until much later. Looking back, the warning signs were everywhere. The family dinners where my chair was always a little to the side, the conversations where my words were background noise. I kept hoping adulthood would even the scales. Maybe if I built a stable life, they'd finally see me. I rented a small apartment in Chicago, filled it with thrifted furniture and peace. I sent money home when they asked. I believed helping was proof of love, but the more I gave, the less I existed. Sometimes late at night, I'd scroll through Kate's Instagram, her perfect vacations, her brand deals, her grateful posts about family support. The same parents who told me money's tight were paying for her new car. I'd feel anger rise, then guilt for feeling it. I'd hear Mom's voice in my head. "Don't be jealous, Helen. It's not attractive." I swallowed that phrase for years. I thought silence was strength. I thought being good would earn me space at their table. I was wrong. By the time I turned 30, I had stopped expecting fairness, but I hadn't stopped hoping for it. That was my mistake. Hope made every phone call with my mother feel like a test I kept failing. It always started sweet. "How's work, honey? You must be exhausted. You're such a good daughter." Then came the real reason for the call. "Listen, your sister's had a tough month. Rent's late again. Just this once, could you help her out?" The first few times I sent money without hesitation. I told myself it was kindness. But kindness without boundaries is just obedience dressed nicely. Each transfer left me emptier, not just in my account, but somewhere deeper, like I was paying to keep my place in the family. Ben noticed. He'd watch me hang up and ask, "Was that your mom or your boss?" I'd force a laugh. Same difference, but he didn't smile. "Helen, they only call when they need something. That's not love, that's dependence." He was right, and I hated that he was right. I wasn't ready to face what that meant. The next family dinner was at a steakhouse downtown. Kate breezed in late sunglasses on indoors, kissed everyone's cheeks, and announced sorry filming ran long. She didn't apologize to the waiter who'd been hovering with menus for 20 minutes. She didn't have to. She was the center of gravity. When the check arrived, it slid across the table, stopping in front of me like it knew its destination. Dad cleared his throat. Mom said lightly, "Helen, would you mind? You always take care of us." Everyone smiled, waiting for me to perform my role. I paid. Of course I paid. But something inside me shifted a hairline crack I didn't notice yet. Afterward, Ben squeezed my hand in the parking lot. "Why do you let them treat you like an employee?" I said nothing. The words family and obligation tangled in my throat. Weeks later, Mom called again. "Helen, sweetie, Kate's car broke down. Your father and I are short until next payday. Can you cover the repair? We'll pay you back." They never did. I started tracking the pattern not on paper, but in my head, rent car gifts, dinners emergencies that were never emergencies. The numbers added up to resentment. Then came the subtle digs. When I shared that I'd been promoted to charge nurse, Mom said, "That's wonderful, dear, but don't overwork yourself. You'll never keep a husband that way." When Kate got a minor brand partnership, Mom posted on Facebook, "So proud of my creative girl chasing her dreams. I was invisible even in pixels." Dad tried once to defend her. "Your mother just wants peace." I laughed. Her version of peace is me paying for it. He didn't answer. The last time I said no, Mom sighed so deeply it felt rehearsed. "You've changed, Helen. You used to be generous." I almost apologized before catching myself. "Maybe I'm finally being fair to me." She hung up without replying. That silence between us stretched like wire-thin sharp, waiting to snap. Then came Kate's 30th birthday invitation, embossed card gold letters, a photo of her in sequins. At the bottom, one line made my stomach twist. "Formal dinner. Family only." Ben raised an eyebrow. "You're going." "I always go," I said. "It's what good daughters do." But something in my voice wavered. I was tired of being the good daughter, the dependable one, the one who cleaned up emotional messes, the one who paid for love that never arrived. I didn't know it yet, but that dinner would be the last time I played that part. The night my mother raised her glass, I would finally stop clapping. The restaurant was the kind of place meant to impress soft jazz white linens chandeliers that turned everyone's skin into gold. I wore a navy dress I'd bought on sale, the kind that said I tried, but not too hard. When I walked in, Mom was already arranging the seating chart like she was hosting a gala, not her daughter's birthday. Kate stood near the cake sequins, sparkling like she'd swallowed the spotlight. She hugged me with a perfumed smile. "You made it. I wasn't sure you'd get off work." Translation, I wasn't sure you mattered enough to come. Dinner was long and loud. Wine flowed, laughter echoed. I stayed quiet, nodding at conversations I wasn't part of. Dad checked his watch every 10 minutes. Mom floated from seat to seat, hand on shoulders, perfect hostess energy. Every so often, her eyes found me evaluating, calculating. Then the lights dimmed slightly. A waiter rolled in the cake candles, flickering like small suns. Mom stood glass raised. Her diamond bracelet caught the chandelier's light, scattering it across the room. To my daughter, Kate, she said, voice smooth and proud, "She's the daughter I'm proud of. The one who always shines." The applause hit before the words even landed. I clapped too, a reflex, my palms cold. The laughter, the cheers, the flashes, it all blurred. My chest felt tight, like air had weight. Then a small movement at my side. A waiter in a pressed black vest stepped forward, setting a leather folder neatly in front of me. "Miss Ward," he murmured. The room didn't fall silent right away, it shifted. I felt it. Heads turned, eyes flicked, lips twitched. I opened the folder. $1.980. My reflection stared back from the glossy paper, pale and still. A cousin whispered, "Is that for you?" Mom smiled the same smile she used for holiday photos. "Helen's got it. She always takes care of family." Laughter rippled thin and uneasy. Kate sipped her champagne, smirked. Tradition, right? That single word detonated something quiet inside me. I looked at Dad. He pretended to adjust his napkin. The air was hot, heavy with perfume and expectation. The sound of cutlery seemed miles away. It wasn't the money. It was the math. Years of subtraction, all from me. My hands were steady when I closed the folder. Mom leaned closer, whispering, "Don't embarrass us, Helen. Just pay it." And that's when something inside me finally stopped obeying. I took a breath that felt like breaking surface after drowning. The room still buzzed, waiting for the usual outcome for me to reach for my wallet for the performance to continue. But this time, I didn't move. I sat very still, watching my mother bask in her own toast, and I thought, if she wants a show, I'll give her one she won't forget. I pushed my chair back. The sound cut through the chatter like a blade. A few heads turned. A few forks froze mid-air. My mother looked up, her smile still fixed in place, that public kind of smile that means everything's fine while she calculates how to keep it that way. "Sit down, Helen," she said quietly. "Don't make a scene." I stood anyway. My voice came out calm, almost too calm. "If Kate is the daughter you're proud of," I said, "then let your pride pay tonight." The laughter died. Somewhere, a spoon clinked against a plate, and then nothing, just silence wide and heavy. Mom's lips tightened. "Helen, please." "This isn't about dinner," I said. "It's about math. Years of subtraction. Every dress, every trip, every bailout that came out of my pocket." Dad shifted his napkin, crumpling in his hands. "Sweetheart, don't." "No," I said, turning to him. "You had your chance to speak. You always chose quiet. Tonight I'm done covering the bill for silence." Kate's voice wavered, defensive but small. "Why are you doing this on my birthday?" I looked at her, really looked perfect, makeup, expensive gown, the confidence of someone who never had to earn applause. "Because every year it's the same performance," I said, "and I'm the one paying for the tickets." She flushed eyes, darting toward Mom for backup. Mom set her glass down with a soft thud. "We raised you, Helen. You owe this family respect." "Respect," I said. "You toast one daughter and hand the other the check. That's not respect. That's humiliation with gratuity included." A few relatives looked at their plates. One aunt whispered she's right before blushing and staring at her wine. The waiter hovered by the doorway, unsure whether to step in. I picked up the leather folder, opened it slowly, and slid a few bills inside. "This covers what I ordered: my drink, my slice of cake, and a generous tip for the staff." I closed it and placed it in front of my mother. "The rest, charge it to family pride." Kate gasped. Mom's eyes widened just enough for me to see the panic flicker there. "You're overreacting," she said, voice trembling under its polished surface. "I used to think that too," I replied. "Every time you told me not to be jealous, not to make a scene, not to ask for more than scraps. But this isn't a scene. It's an audit." I looked around at the table. Added up. All the times you celebrated her and shamed me. Every dollar, every dinner, every be a good girl and pay. This is the balance due. Someone coughed. The chandelier hummed faintly. It sounded like the world waiting to exhale. Mom whispered, "You're ungrateful." "Gratitude without boundaries is servitude," I said. "I'm done performing obedience." I gathered my purse, smoothed the napkin on my chair, and turned toward the waiter. "Could you please split the bill properly? I won't be covering the family tonight." He nodded once, almost respectfully. Kate reached out, her voice breaking. "Helen, please don't do this. Not like this." I met her eyes. "I didn't do this, Kate. You all did every time you watched and said nothing." Dad stood halfway, then sat again. "Let's just calm down," he muttered. "Calm," I said, "is what got us here." No one moved. No one spoke. Even the candles seemed to hold still. I felt something inside me realign, anger melting into clarity. For the first time, I didn't feel smaller. I felt exact. I placed my hand on the back of my chair. If respect is the price of admission, I said softly, I won't pay to be diminished. Then I walked. Past the cake, past the cameras, past the stunned faces. The carpet muffled every step until I reached the doorway. Behind me, chairs scraped, voices collided. Mom calling my name, Dad apologizing to the waiter, Kate crying softly. None of it touched me. Outside, the night air hit like cold water. My breath came out sharp clean. The city glittered indifferent and honest. I kept walking, each step lighter than the last. The silence followed me out, but this time it wasn't punishment. It was peace. The next morning, sunlight spilled through my blinds, too bright for how little I'd slept. My phone blinked with messages stacked like dominoes. Dad first. We shouldn't have let it get that far. I'm sorry for my silence. I read it twice. Then again. It was the first time he'd admitted it. Silence as participation. Kate's text came next. I didn't know it felt like that. I'm sorry. A photo followed her birthday cake, half-eaten candles bent like apology. I typed back slowly, the spotlight hides the costs. Maybe now you'll see them. Mom didn't text. Not a word, not even a period. Just a notification from Facebook, a new post, a photo of the restaurant captioned, Family, always worth celebrating. The comment section filled with hearts. I didn't react. Instead, I walked to my favorite coffee shop, the one with chipped mugs and quiet mornings. Dad was already there, stirring his cup like it could buy him more time. When he looked up, he didn't start with excuses. How do we fix this, he asked. I told him the truth. You start by noticing, then you speak up next time. He nodded, eyes wet. Weeks passed. The world didn't fall apart. Boundaries held. Mom called once, her voice brittle. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I told her. Just stop handing me the check. At home, I unpacked a small envelope from therapy appointment confirmation. I pinned it to the fridge beside a photo of me and Ben at the lake, wind in our hair, no performance required. For the first time, my peace didn't feel borrowed. It felt earned. One evening, weeks later, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, city lights flickering below. The air was cool, quiet, the kind of quiet that used to scare me. Now it sounded like freedom. Inside my phone buzzed again, another family group message I didn't open. I didn't need to. I knew what peace cost, and for once I'd paid only my share. I thought about that night, the toast, the smirk, the silence, and how everyone waited for me to shrink back into the version of myself they could control. But I didn't. I stood up and the room went silent, not because they won, but because I finally stopped playing along. Sometimes walking away is louder than yelling. Sometimes silence is justice. The same silence that once crushed me now holds me steady. If you've ever had to stand up for yourself in a room that expected you to stay small, tell me. Share your story below, because peace doesn't come from approval. It comes from deciding you've paid enough.